Today I want to talk about choosing good scholarly sources for your English essays. Now hopefully by this point in your degree, you all know to avoid sources like SparkNotes or Snopes or Poetry Hunter, those kinds of websites directed very much towards a GCSE or A-level audience that give simply plot summaries or identify major themes in works. However, navigating good scholarly sources can be really tricky, especially depending on what search engine you use. If you guys are using Google Scholar, lots of material will come up that may at first glance look like an appropriate source, but actually isn't. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So to begin, what do we mean when we say you have to use scholarly sources? So this means two things. First, it should be something that's been written by a scholar. And by this we do mean professionals. So someone who holds a master's degree or a doctorate in the subject, or a professional critic or historian. Beyond being written by a scholar, you want to be reading things that have been written for scholars. So the audience needs to be scholarly as well as the author. Now what do we mean by that? We mean people who are really interested in the nuances and depth of critical debate. So things like the British Library website, victorianweb.org, those kinds of websites that you might have seen flagged as public facing, they contain lots of good facts, but they're just too superficial for the kind of material you're looking for, because they've been written for casually interested people rather than serious scholars. And that's what we want you guys to think of yourselves as you do your English degree. You're serious scholars and you need to be engaged with serious scholarly debate. The next thing you're looking for when you're checking your sources is to make sure it's been peer reviewed. So what does that mean? It simply means that the article, chapter, or book that you're reading has been checked by other experts. Those are the author's peers. So this means that at least two, but probably far more, other experts have read the work and said, yes, this is correct, this is interesting, this should be published. So what kind of material hasn't been peer reviewed? Well, newspaper articles haven't. They've been copy edited and they've been fact checked, but they haven't been read by experts. Equally, unpublished essays and blog posts obviously haven't been checked. They've just been written by one author and put out into the world. So you have no idea if the material in them is correct, up to date, or worth using. To go back to the idea of the unpublished essay, something that came up a lot in this phase of marking was that students kept citing theses. So what is a thesis and why can't you use it as a source? A thesis is just a word for a long piece of work produced by a student. So the dissertation that you guys will write in your third year can also be referred to as a thesis. And the final work, the final projects that master's and doctoral students produce are also called theses. So obviously these are scholarly works, right? They're engaged in the critical debate, they're doing good scholarly reading, but they're still student essays, and that's the really important thing. These things haven't been peer reviewed or published. So some doctoral students and some master's students will go on to publish their theses, but when they do so, they'll edit it for publication and it will be peer reviewed by a large body of other experts. But the things that are simply labeled theses online have not yet been published or peer reviewed. So I pulled a number of sources that I saw used again and again in this year's crop of Dorian Gray essays, and I just want to show you how you can tell that you really shouldn't be using them. So let's begin with Patrick Dugan's The Conflict Between Aestheticism and Morality in Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. Now this is on a website that clearly identifies itself as a journal, right? You can see that over to the right-hand side of the screen. However, at the top of the screen, you can see that this is from the Boston University Arts and Sciences Writing Program. So let's just click on Journal and see what kind of material this is. WR, the Journal of the CAS Writing Program, publishes a selection of the best undergraduate papers from our writing seminars. So there, right away, one click, we can tell that Patrick Dugan is an undergraduate just like you, and this is an essay he submitted to a university module, exactly as your essays produced for this module are. Now, would you cite a friend's essay as a scholarly source? No, even though it might be a very, very good essay. So you also shouldn't be citing undergraduate work. Here's another one that I saw come up quite a bit. Scribbling Shane's Aestheticism in Oscar Wilde's The Picture of Dorian Gray. Now, this is quite obviously a blog. It's on wordpress.com. And as you can tell just from Scribbling Shane's little tagline at the top of his blog, from my mind to the page, often too quickly. This is a personal blog. He has written this without anyone checking it, reviewing it, and he possibly hasn't even reviewed it that clearly. So although he gives you a how to cite this post, you should not be using blogs in your work. Here's another one I saw a lot from Martina Edsman, The Immortal Life and Immoral Values of Dorian Gray. Here we're on a website for a Scandinavian university. Bit confusing, but if you look down, you can see immediately this is an independent thesis, basic level degree of bachelor for 10 credits. So again, this is an undergraduate student essay. Work exactly of the level of yours. Another one I saw was this one from Augustina Gunnersdottir, again from a university website, and again you can see that it is a BA essay, a bachelor's degree or undergraduate essay. This is another one of the same type, The Battle of Good and Evil in the Picture of Dorian Gray, University of Iceland, School of Humanities, BA essay. Again, submitted at undergraduate level. Here's another one I found, another blog, stepbystepmoving.blogspot.com. British Literature, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Religion and Morality for Oscar Wilde. This is again student work. They've put it on their blog, but it's from a module they've taken called British Literature. And if you scroll down, you can find a comment from their teacher. Mr. Garrick says, "Very well done. I think it's great when students do a bit of research." Now, is this the kind of material you think you should be using when we're looking for scholarly sources? Something that's a bit of research? Certainly not. Okay, here's another one that I saw, Rachel Delman's Art and Nature in Dorian Gray. Again, right from the top, you can see that although this has a journal name attached to it, inveterate, and an issue number, it's leading undergraduate work in English studies from the School of English at the University of Nottingham. So again, this is an undergraduate essay. Here's another one I saw. This is Vandenhoven's From Arcadia to Byzantium. This is from the University of Windsor, and if you look down, you see it is a thesis. This one's submitted at the master's level. So this work will be good work, I'm sure. It will be slightly more in depth and nuanced than undergraduate work, but it is still an unpublished student essay. Again, I saw a lot of people engaging with this one, C.M. Van Riet's Surface and Symbol in the Picture of Dorian Gray, which they themselves uploaded to their academia.edu page. And you can see right on the title page, this is a BA thesis submitted to Utrecht University. And finally, Maria Oygarden's fairy fiction, fairy tale aspects in the selection of Oscar Wilde's works. Again, on a website that might initially strike you as being scholarly, but you can see right here on the side that it is identified as a master's thesis. So these are the things you want to be looking out for. The word thesis, or if you are on a university website, like these ones here, just have a look around and you will probably see quite quickly that it says undergraduate somewhere, or student essay, or student journal. If you wouldn't cite your friend's essay from the same module you're in, you shouldn't be citing other students' work. So you want to make sure that everything you're citing is scholarly and peer-reviewed. Now, how do you do that? The very, very best way is to go onto the Keele Library website. So I'm not sure what search engines you've been using to find this material. Perhaps it's Google Scholars, perhaps it's something else, but this is a real problem, and so you want to make sure you're using good search engines in order to find good material. And Keele's library website will ensure that you're seeing good, scholarly, peer-reviewed material, because it does list things as peer-reviewed. And if it comes up and says thesis, you know simply not to use it at this stage.